The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
And welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the HighLowSports podcast. We appreciate you all for joining us here on this Wednesday evening, or if you're watching us in one of your favorite places to catch podcasts later in the week as well. It is DJ right now, not quite joined by my co-host Kelcey yet. He will be joining me here in just a little bit, but in the meantime, you guys will get to hang out with me for just a little bit. We got plenty to talk about in the world of sports. We got basketball. We still got football. Baseball is a hop, step, and a skip away. We got fisticuffs. We got a little bit of everything we are going to go over today. It's going to be one heck of a show, so I appreciate y'all for coming in to hang out with us. And you know what? Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. That's going to lead us into the tip-off. The tip-off, of course, brought to you by our friends over at SeatGeek. Use code BellyUpSports for $20 off your first set of tickets. Once again, BellyUpSports for $20 off your first set of tickets for any concerts, sporting events, anything that you might need tickets to. Definitely head on over to SeatGeek and use our code there. And you know what? We're going to start things off in the Octagon and heading over to UFC 298. And if you tuned into the show last week, you know Kelcey and I kind of talked about, especially me a little bit there. Usually there was always a big UFC card the Saturday before the Super Bowl, and we were kind of missing that this year. They were just a week off not having a UFC event. Well, a week after that, and we definitely did not miss. They did not miss with this one. UFC 298, a solid card, pretty much top to bottom. Really enjoyable, very tense-filled ones, and a few of them as well, too. The co-main event, Paulo Costa and Robert Whittaker was tense all the way through. So I think it was a really good one, but we're going to go ahead and just skip all the way ahead to the main event, which was the primary attraction, pound for pound elite Alexander Volkanovski taking on Ilia Topuria, the Spaniard, undefeated, 14-0 coming into the fight, string of knockouts, string of finishes. And it was kind of one of those, the betting odds shifted a lot of the consensus when you looked online, a lot of experts and just people talking about it were feeling Volkanovski, rightfully so. I mean, he looked unbeatable at 145. But at the same time, when you look at the betting odds where a lot of the money was going to, it had become a minus 102 to plus 120, somewhere in those lines as well, to someone who bet on both sides because the odds are so good. I'm assured that I was going to walk away with a little bit of money with that one. But when you look at it, was a really, really close fight on paper coming in because of Ilia's ability to shut the lights out so quickly. His hands are so clean, so fast. Even if they're not perfectly technically straight down the pipe, sometimes they wing a little bit. They're so fast and they are still tight. His elbow stays in tight. He makes a 90-degree angle with those hooks when they land. So he throws with fury, with vengeance, with bad intentions, and he caught Alex in, I believe it was the third round too, after a couple of really close early rounds as well. I believe Volkanovski was actually winning the fight up until that point. If nothing else, they were tied at one round apiece. And Ilia showed why he's so dangerous, why he was such a threat, why there were people who were like, oh, he might be able to pull this off. And shutting the lights out, folding Volkanovski too, like it looked like a cheap lawn chair. It was really rough to see him go down like that. But that also begs the question too, is what exactly is next? And looking at it now, obviously a Volkanovski rematch makes a lot of sense. Long-time champion game in there, but the dude's been KO'd in back-to-back fights with a short layoff. If I'm on his team, I'm like, you're chilling the rest of the year. We're not getting you back in there. Let your brain heal. Let your head recover. Those type of knockouts, they linger if you get back in there too quickly. So if I'm his team, I'm recommending him sit for a little bit. That gives Ilia a chance to defend it. Maybe Max Holloway, depending on how he comes out of this UFC 300 fight against Justin Gaethje. That's one hell of a matchup. You do have some other guys. Yair Rodriguez, we'll see how he comes out of his next matchup as well too. There are some very, very good head-to-head matchups coming up with those guys as well. He has said that they should all just retire. He's not going to fight any of them, but we'll see at this point. I don't know if he's quite able to call those shots. Sean O'Malley's already said he wants to fight him next, but I'm of the view of you need to get a couple of title defenses before you start chasing belts in multiple divisions, with the, of course, like rare exceptions of a Conor McGregor or something like that. But that doesn't apply to every single champion. You don't get to get a belt, one title defense or less, then jump a weight class. So I want to see Ilia fight. If he doesn't get the Volkanovski rematch right away, which I hope they have Volkanovski sit after a knockout like that. I really don't want to see him jump right back into the octagon with that guy. So I'm going to say let him sit, let him recover, get the immediate rematch when he's ready, give Ilia one of those other guys, and then just depending on how it plays out, you roll from there. Maybe Ilia fights Max Holloway. If he beats him, then you have Volkanovski rematch. If not, give Volkanovski then a rematch without a title fight. But I think there's a lot of really good things to do there. But Ilya's the real deal. He came in as a wrestle first type, is how he started his career, as a wrestle grapple heavy guy who evolved his striking game and became so deadly with his hands. And we really saw it on full display there. But that a big upset as well. I don't think a lot of people saw Volkanovski losing at 145 pounds, but the curse continues. Fighters 170 pounds and under, champions, once they hit 35, they're like 1 in 22 in their last 23 or something absolutely ridiculous like that. So that's something to keep an eye on. Is this the end of the Volkanovski train, or is he able to bounce back? Was it just a couple of rough setbacks? So we'll keep an eye there. But there was also another big announcement that there as well too. UFC 300, the main event has been announced. We have Alex Pereira taking on Jamal Hill for the light heavyweight fight. For those who maybe don't remember or were not familiar, Jamal Hill actually was the champion at light heavyweight and never vacated his belt. He tore his Achilles in between fights and ended up vacating the belt because, frankly, he didn't want to hold up the division, which, you know what, kudos to him. That's pretty cool on his part. But with that said, UFC 300 is officially set now to, I believe there is like one undercard or something like that available, but they did say that. But otherwise, the main event, the co-main event, a lot of those main ones are set and ready to go now. And you know what? We're going to go and take a look at that for those who are on the stream with us as well. So we're going to start at the top. As I mentioned, Alex Pereira, Jamal Hill, honestly, an incredible fight. And you can look at the odds there. They are very close. This fight's, whatever the odds are for it going to a decision, I am definitely taking the absolutely not. This fight might even, I don't know. I'm curious to see once we get closer what the over-under on the rounds are. If it's a 2.5, 3, something like that. I think this one's going to end abruptly and violently. Whoever wins is going to end in the snap of a finger. Both have the ability to shut the lights out violently. Jamal Hill could lean on his wrestling and grappling attack, but I'm very, very curious. I'm very curious for this one, especially the odds once we get closer. Co-main event, we got Zhang Weili taking on, I do not know how to pronounce her name, Yan Xiao, and I apologize. I know I butchered that, but this one's very, very good. Number one versus champion. For the first time, if I'm not mistaken, you got a Chinese champion taking on a Chinese challenger as well. So fun. A little bit of history in the making with this one as well. This one, nonstop action. Like, don't blink. It's going to be like it's going to be a torpedo of fists, elbows, knees, everything you can imagine. It's going to be absolute chaos. Moving down, Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, the BMF title on the line. Incredible fight. Max Holloway is always fun to watch. Same with Justin Gaethje. Incredible matchup. And honestly, Gaethje could be fighting for the title right now. Same with Max Holloway now with Ilya taking the belt. This one, I do worry because Justin Gaethje getting older, taking a lot of damage. If Max Holloway catches him, we know how he can put on an absolute tornado of fists. His blitz is one of the better ones you'll see in the lower weight class, with his hand speed, his length, and his unmatched cardio. Almost unmatched. He will not stop. If he gets you hurt, he will not stop throwing. So, and then Justin Gaethje, of course, has arguably the biggest power in the division. Charles Oliveira versus Armin Tsarukyan. This one's very interesting. If you notice here, Oliveira is actually the underdog despite being ranked number 1 compared to number 4. Armin is widely considered to be he's got next. He wins this fight, he's fighting for a title next. So this is one hell of a matchup. And then just rounding out the main card here, Yuri Prochazka taking on Alexander Rakic. Alexander Rakic did have a title shot pretty much locked up with a gnarly head kick knockout. I believe it was over Jimmy Manawa as well too. The dude is absolutely dangerous, in and out of action a lot over the years. This one, same with the main event. I don't know what the over-under is 4 rounds are, but boy, I'm taking the under on that one as well too. So we got a big upset off to 298. 299 is a big card, and I know 300 has it lost a little bit of steam because Dana White basically said it was going to blow everybody's minds. The main event, they added everything like that. It's a very good fight card top to bottom. This one is quantity, even if they're and quality. It's not blowing the load at the top and then kind of fizzling and with anticipation. You are on the edge of your seat the whole time. I mean, look, just going down here. Cody Garbrandt, Davison Figueiredo, guaranteed someone's going to sleep. Bo Nickel, Cody Brundage. Look at these odds right here. Holy moly. Holly Holm, Kayla Harrison, the new signed prospect. We'll see that she's jumping right into the deep end. Youssef versus Lopez. I am not touching that one with any money whatsoever. That is an incredible matchup. Andrade Rodriguez, look at the odds here, dead even. Then Bobby Green and Jim Miller. Bobby Green, for better or for worse, is going to come in like a reckless bat out of hell. And Jim Miller has the most fights, most octagon time. I swear he's 500 years old, even if he's not. He's been around for so long. It's going to be quite the fight card, too. I look forward to it. Once we get closer to UFC 300, we'll talk about it a lot more, too. But UFC 298, with a big upset alert. And anyone who's been upset just listening to me this whole time, well, don't worry, guys. Your time is over. I am now joined, of course, by my co-host Kelcey, who he's had a busy day. He's hard at work. He's hard at work. Basically, has to keep his dog fed, and she is not easy. But Kelcey, we are glad to have you join us.
She might be the most spoiled dog in the world with how much I work to provide for her. No, I'm glad to be here finally. Sorry it took me so long, but don't worry, you guys were in capable hands. Obviously, the talk of UFC 298 here, DJ. I mean, look, it was great fight card. I'm glad you were able to finally. We talked about doing a thing about it last week, and we didn't get time to get there. So I'm glad you were able to at least talk about the upset now.
Exactly. And you know what? As somebody who I mentioned earlier, I bet on both sides of the main event because the odds were surprisingly good. So I walked away with money, and I hit all parlays except one, and that's because, well, the main event, I can't. When you pick one, when I picked both of them, one of them had to lose. You can't go perfect in that regard when you pick both sides of it. But almost hit a 7-parter. So you know what? Maybe DJ's best bets will stick with UFC a little bit more. Football had some rough stretches, but picked up when it needed to. Maybe DJ's best bets will be a UFC betting thing now. And I say that as I'm about to go like 1-7 because I said that. But definitely,
you got to start somewhere, right?
Exactly. You know, it's all fun and games except for the people getting punched in the face. But you joined just in time because we're going to talk about something that I know is near and dear to your heart, and by that I mean it's going to be sweaty for a while too. We're going to talk about quarterbacks and a lot of rumors coming out of it recently as well too. I'm going to start with your favorite one. We're going to get this one out of the way. There is a rumor, and I'm emphasizing rumor. Like if you have a rumor mill sound effect, break it out now. But I don't think there is such one. But honestly, Dak Prescott now is looking to. There's rumors that he is going to reset the market with his next deal at roughly $60 million, I believe is what they're saying. So Kelcey, is the Cowboys fan, you feel comfortable with that possibility? Do you think it actually happens? Do you think it's just he say, she say? What are your thoughts on that, knowing Dak is coming off that last big contract that he signed too?
What has he won? Just, we'll start there. What has he won? Yes, you're going to say the NFC East once, twice, technically twice, but once under this last
times. But like, yeah, whenever the Eagles don't win it, basically, they just flip-flop.
So, period. Again, I stand on this opinion, and I am like DK right now. I'm standing on business. When I say this, Dak is not the future quarterback for the Cowboys at a record contract. Just like I said, he deserved the contract before the injury. I still stand by that. I still believe he deserved it before the injury because you just had so many different injuries to the offensive line, to the receiving core at the time, and there was so much changeover. You didn't really know what to get you were actually getting from him, but you knew you can get quality from him. Well, guess what, guys? Experiment's over. This isn't Justin Fields. We're not talking about a guy who's been in the league for 3 years. We're not talking about a guy who hasn't been, 100% or who's been 100% healthy through his career. No, we're talking about Dak Prescott, who just broke his ankle recently in the last 5 years. Also, again, let's not forget, he's a mid-round draft pick. And I bring that up only to say, for a mid-round draft pick, he performed admirably well. He has not performed to get a new record-setting contract at any point in time in his career. He gets great empty calorie yards. That does absolutely nothing for you when you're trying to win a division, when you're trying to win an NFC championship game. Better yet, maybe just get to the NFC championship game and we can talk. Maybe don't lose to the 49ers with Zeke as your quarterback or as your center. Like, there's so many things I could just address. Brandon Cooks came into the offense this last year, pretty much wasted, absolutely wasted in this offense. Michael Gallup, where's he been at? You threw it to a tight end, great. You love tight ends. We've talked about this 1,001 times. I thought the tight end loss was going to be a big deal last year. It was, but guess what? He found a new tight end, so it worked out. You still have CD. It's obvious, and I mean obvious to anybody watching it. If you have two eyeballs and they work even 20 to 100 type of vision here, so you can just blur your figures on the screen, you can still see there's a disconnect between your best receiver, also your best offensive player, and your quarterback that's supposed to be a franchise guy. That can't happen. You can't have two franchise guys not on the same page because that just tells you your franchise is dysfunctional. Period. So, again, I mean, Dak, I'm not going to say you go out and get somebody else, but you do not reset the market with this contract. Take what is already there make him the 10th highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And that's acceptable. Absolutely acceptable. But if you go with the top paid quarterback in the NFL per year, no. You are wasting money. I will continue to bang the drum that if that happens, the Joneses really need to get out of Dallas, because there's no way Dallas will ever make it back to a Super Bowl with the Joneses in charge if they sign Dak to this mega contract they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly as well too. And not to mention on top of that, like right now, I think he is at about number 10, give or take, right now at about 40 million. Some of the names ahead of him, you look at like Daniel Jones, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, some of those, and it's like, hold on now, he should not be getting more money than me. But on the same token, too, that was their first big contracts. This is going to be his second one. And I'm going to emphasize that I will never say that a player should be expected to take less money. They should never be expected. Emphasis on the word expect. They could be asked. They could be told, we're not paying you that much. That's different. But saying, oh, Dak's going to take less money, don't you put that expectation on him. If they want to, they should offer Dak back. Look, we'll give you 45. We'll make it so you're 45 to 50. Maybe we'll go up to 50 million. So you're in the top 5 again. Not going to get resetting the market. You got to pay CeeDee Lamb, as you mentioned, coming up too. That coming off the season he just had as well. You're going to have to pay that man. 88s know how to get paid. If we've learned anything from Michael Irvin and Des Bryant, 88's got to get paid. Micah Parsons, that man's going to get paid quarterback money. Like no questions there. Plus, you got to fill out the rest of the roster on top of it as well, too. We've learned from the Chiefs, there's ways to make it work. Stagger, so like Dak gets most of it front-loaded, CeeDee in the middle, Mike at the end. However you want, there's ways to make it work. Look at the Saints. They're still negative 80 million in the cap. There's ways to make it work. Chargers are negative 45. There's ways to make it work, kick the can, whatever you got to do. But I'm kind of in agreement with you. They're like, if Dak says, give me this money and they're going to offer it, then by all means make it happen. But if I'm the Cowboys, I'm looking to see if there's a way we can make it where that cap hit doesn't, whether it's a discretionary bonus, whatever it is, ways to where you're not going to take a complete number 2 on the cap. Find a way to Tom Brady at this point, because you're not the first contract, especially coming off of being that mid-round pick, as you mentioned. Go get all of it. Go get all of it, especially coming off that injury. But now you are in your 30s. Being the quarterback, you're actually 30, excuse me. So I guess you still have a few good years left in theory. But like, if you're going to sign one that big, make it like a 2 to 3 year deal. You can't do like a 6-year, $60 million. Like you can't go Von Miller-esque or something ridiculous. I don't think so. Yeah. I agree with you though. If you can find a way to do it for 45 a year, that's probably the sweet spot.
Yeah, and let me be clear, because you mentioned this at the beginning, so I just want to address this. I'm not saying you pay him less.
Yeah.
$40 million, another 3 years, okay, absolutely. Add a $5 million roster bonus in each year, so that doesn't count against your cap, and add a $5 million performance bonus. Well, guess what? Now you're a $50 million a year quarterback. But as far as our cap space is concerned, when I say our, I'm speaking as in the form of the Cowboys talking to him, we're only getting a cap hit of about dead space, I think, of $33 million at that point in time, which is a huge improvement over what would be the case if he signed a $60 million a year contract. There's no chance, despite all the money that Jerry Jones claims he has, there's no chance you can successfully pay that man $60 million a year and field a successful team.
Unless you take away the salary cap, then they can go full New York Yankees, because he does have that Jerry Jones money. But as you mentioned, there's no way. And even the cap taking a jump to I think 250 this next year as well. Like it's going up $8 million.
I mean, you can play with some stuff, but you got a lot more priorities here in Dallas than paying Dak $60 million. And again, let me be clear. I'm not saying Dak is a bad quarterback. I still think he's a top 15 quarterback in the league, which is great. You're not going to go out and try to find a better quarterback unless they just pop up. Like if Patty somehow was rumored to be traded, of course you try to go get Patty. You try to go get Josh Allen. You try to go get Joe Burrow. You try to go get Justin Herbert. But if it's like Baker Mayfield, you're not trying to replace Dak with Baker.
You're going to lose. There's no argument here. Like there is in that area. It's just like
just be. Because you already know what's going to happen in the comments. Oh, Dak deserves to be paid. He's a top 5 quarter. Pause. Remember a time frame for when he gets these stats, because usually it's when Dallas is losing or they're up by a lot and he's just running it up, or he's just trying to make it look respectable and defenses are playing prevent. Those are the two things that really happen. I've yet to see a performance from Dak in a close game back and forth that I really can stand on and be like, that's a good quarterback. That is a top 5 quarterback. I've yet to see that. consistently from him.
So definitely we're going to keep an eye on what happens in Dallas as well. But we're not done there yet. We got another quick one. We're going to look at Kirk Cousins, available to hit the market as well too. And a little rumor is maybe Atlanta could be interested. I mean, him and his family, they spend a lot of time in Atlanta. Atlanta's kind of the home of the grandparents too. So we'll just keep it quick on this one. Kirk Cousins, if he leaves Minnesota, if he doesn't stay there, you like the idea of him taking a pit stop in Atlanta for a couple of years?
Honestly, I like the idea of any quarterback right now that's being rumored to Atlanta to go to Atlanta. I mean, obviously Ryan Tannehill's not being rumored to Atlanta, so I'm okay with all the other guys. Kirk Cousins among them. The big thing with Kirk, you got to kind of address the injury. But I think, I mean, if he's going to go to Atlanta, by all means, take that if you're Atlanta. We've seen what he can do when he actually says, you know what, how you like that? When he's that Kirk and not the white Dak Prescott Kirk. I mean, safe to say the guy can light it up when he wants to. And look, that entire offense, it's young core. Get a guy who is a quality locker room guy like Kirk as well. That improves a lot of what you're already trying to do. Just, you see it all the time. Add one quality veteran, the entire young team, just the entire ability for that team lifts with that quality veteran. Kirk is a guy. I think we can all agree that Kirk is a guy that in the locker room is a high quality locker room guy. Period. On the field, I mean, he doesn't really say anything on the field either, so it's not like that big a deal. Midwestern dad, that whole joke. But I mean, why not? I think Atlanta would be stupid not if they have the opportunity. I think Atlanta would be stupid not to pursue that.
See, that Cole's cash is like glue in a locker room too. Like when he comes in with that Cole's cash, it brings everyone together. And what's fun? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say he's gonna have to change from a Cole's guy to being a Belk guy. You guys are from the South, you already know. Belk is the high quality Coles of the South.
He might double dip. He might have Coles on top, belts on bottom. He might find a way to mix it as well. But what I like about this possible move is, I mean, obviously he's older, so you're going to get him for a 2 to 3 year deal. You have all these skill players on rookie deals, so you can afford to just like load him up right away. You can do like that stupid 3 years, like 90 million fully guaranteed or something ridiculous he got with Minnesota not that long ago. It's not ideal for a quarterback of his age coming off an injury, but you can kind of risk it for what he brings to the table. You had the chance to at number 8. You don't have to try and trade up for one of those other quarterbacks we expect to go towards the top. Like you don't have to try and find a way to finagle one of those. You're getting a Pro Bowl MVP caliber quarterback the way he was playing last year pre-injury. And it means like in round 2, you could take a flyer. Let's say Bo Nix slips to the second round. You can grab Bo Nix, have him sit. Spencer Rattler's there. JJ McCarthy, he's not going to slip. Someone's going to overdraft him. But you know what I mean? Like there's options where you could take somebody and let them hang behind Kirk Cousins for a bit. Some of those guys that have maybe very talented, but a little bit raw, quote unquote, for lack of better words, or somebody you just want him to ease them in, give them the Jordan Love treatment. Do that with Kirk Cousins. And then at pick number 8, I believe they have, you could take a Roma Dunze to pair next to Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson, Malik Neighbors if he slips, or for some reason you want to just go 3 tight ends and throw in Brock Bowers, or now I'm just being ridiculous. Or Dallas Turner. There's a lot of options there at 8 where you don't have to worry. But
overdraft an offensive lineman because you need them.
You can never have too many offensive linemen. Even I think they had like a top 12 offensive line last year. Go and make it top 5. Go bring in Joe Alter, Olufashanu. Just make an absolute wall in front of Kirk Cousins so he can throw laser beams. And we'll see Kyle Pitts in the end zone. Finally, on American soil too. So that's good. But speaking of Atlanta, that's not the only quarterback with rumors there. We're gonna go to the main one, the one I was waiting for you to get here for. The Bears allegedly, quote unquote, this is a rumors all over, might be making their quarterback decision in the next week as well too, whether it's stick with Fields and move the pick, or if they're going to probably look to use that number 1 pick on a quarterback. What I will say is, if you're Justin Fields' trade value is obviously pretty high right now, and it can go up. The good news is it can go to it can go down. Obviously, the scouting combine teams see these kids, they like them. They're less likely to throw something for Fields. Maybe they would offer a second before, now they'll offer a third. There's still free agency to come after. So there's that. There's the chance that it can go lower there. There's also a chance that it could heighten as well too. Let's say at the combine, teams do not like these quarterbacks after seeing them and talking to them in person. Some of those later guys like, oh, they're high on Michael Penix coming in, but then during the interview process, maybe they aren't, or JJ or Spencer Rattler, any of those other guys outside what we expect to be the top 3. Free agency comes and goes, and you're not able to secure a Baker Mayfield if he doesn't get re-signed, or Dak or any of those, and you're kind of stuck in the Taylor Heineke situation, to use Atlanta for terms. Or if you're Minnesota and you're too far back and you lose Kirk Cousins, Then Justin Fields' value suddenly goes from, oh, you need a quarterback, huh? Well, that second round pick just became a first. So I think that gives you a little bit more. I don't think they'll get a first one, but you get my point. And there's a lot of teams that I think Pittsburgh's rumored with him. Minnesota's an option. Atlanta's a big one, which I think if they don't go Kirko, I love Fields there too. So he's going to have a market as well too. So depending on what the Bears do, they can. It's tough because I love Justin Fields, and I don't think he needs to be traded. But at the same time, I still would trade him because I think they both need a fresh scenery. I think they are both in that kind of like Baker and Cleveland a few years ago. Granted, that was a lot messier and a little bit different, apples to pears, but I think Fields is going to be his best with someone else, and I think the Bears will be better off long-term with someone else. Problem is the Bears can't screw that up. And Fields he's got to play with that monumental-sized chip on his shoulder like he did in the Clemson rematch where he threw 6 touchdowns. He has to keep that moving forward, which I think he can do, and go to the right situation. So if I'm the Bears, as much as I hate and I love Justin Fields, I think you do move him, but I think you find somewhere where you can get the most value, and you got to hit on that number 1 pick. Consensus, it's Caleb Williams. If that is who you go with, you better give him everything in the kitchen sink to succeed. Because if you tell him, say, hey, go save us with DJ Moore and wet tissue paper offensive line. If you Justin Fields him, here we go again. Spin that circle round and round.
Yeah, I think this is make or break for the Bears. I'm going to be honest about it. I said this before about the situation with Patrick Mahomes back in the day. I think obviously they missed. Front office knows they missed. They're always trying to make up for that. So now they see an opportunity to go get this guy who's being claimed to be the next Patrick Mahomes. Not the truth. This is not what it is. We'll talk about him more often down the stretch, but just the fact of the matter is he's not Patrick Mahomes coming out of college. You have a guy in Justin Fields who has been proven to take over and win games with the crap you gave him last year. Oh, and by the way, the crap you gave him the year before when you were 10 times worse with no DJ Moore, and he still gave you wins. So just think about this if you're the Bears. Man, I got a high-quality guy. He can take over a game. He is a dynamic athlete. What should I do? The answer is simple. This is the simplest answer I've ever seen in the NFL. Don't trade a guy you just drafted 3 years ago and have yet to give him any quality protection. You've given him the worst offenses I've ever seen. Up until DJ Moore, he had no reliable weapons. Nobody who would actually catch the ball consistently. I mean, Cole Kmet's there, but how many times has Cole Kmet dropped a wide open touchdown? I don't have enough fingers and toes to count them. It's incredible.
DJ Moore got there, ironically enough. DJ Moore made his life a lot easier.
Yeah, put DJ Moore up there, and it's like, man, Justin Fields just, holy crap, I see it now. I see what he can be. We're not even talking about the fact the Bears have a terrible defense as well. They at times performed better last year, but
Montez Sweat came in, it changed, yeah.
But yeah. And up until Montez Sweat got there, it was bad. And now you get Montez Sweat there. So now you have 2 guys on both sides of the ball who you can build around. You can actually build around. Why would you trade away one of them for the hope, a dream that this number 1 pick potentially is going to pan out to be the next Patrick Mahomes? By the way, if history is anything to go on, and which, by the way, history always repeats itself, ladies and gentlemen, it is a fact of life. You will not get another Patrick Mahomes for another 8 to 12 years. We're not there yet. We're not in that time frame yet. We're in the time frame of a guy like Ryan Leaf, where you get a great college kid, a guy who has dynamic skills in college, but doesn't always translate to the NFL. Obviously, Ryan Leaf, there's a lot more to be included there, but skill-wise, it falls there. Johnny Manziel, a dynamic athlete, made impact in college, could not make an impact in the NFL. So if I'm Chicago, and I've said this the entire time, I double down on Justin. I keep him. You have him for what, 2 more years under contract?
I think they declined
another year and a
option, so I think it's 1 more. I think they will have to pay him because I think they did decline the option, if I'm not mistaken.
Idiots. Anyways, I really hate the Bears front office. I apologize to every Bears fan out there. You guys have the worst front office I've ever seen. Jerry Jones, second to you, but it's not close.
I retract that. He is under a contract for the 5th-year option, it looks like.
Okay, so they have a year plus an option. Okay, so you get him the next 2 years. Make your decision then. You're already the money is already in the bank, literally, just waiting to be put to his account. Just stick with it for the next 2 years. Take the high draft picks you have, build a support system, or trade down those draft picks and get even more draft picks to draft better NFL ready guys, so you don't have to try to build them up like you do with a lot of these young talent guys, and see what you can do with Justin. And if it doesn't work by the end of 2 years, guess what? Go ahead, Justin. Have a great life. But you're not losing anything.
I would like to fact check myself again. They have not made a decision yet. They don't have to make one yet. So they still could technically do it. It is not made yet.
They have until the end of next season, or the beginning of next offseason, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. I'd have to double check just to be sure. But I think because he's been in 3 years, you have to accept it before you. I imagine it's coming up as well, if I'm not mistaken.
It might be the August 1 deadline. It might be, or July 1 deadline, I should say, or July 17th, whatever the hell it is now.
Yeah, that makes sense because they did Justin Jefferson and those guys not too long ago too, and he was right after. So either way, point is you have a chance you could figure it out this year and then delay having to pay him a little bit. I get the whole resetting the quarterback contract thing. I know it hasn't been perfect. I know Fields hasn't been perfect, but if you're drafting someone to be the next Patrick Mahomes, you're going to be disappointed. Yeah. No matter what, you're going to hurt yourself long term. And if you expect him to be your savior, if you draft him to be a franchise quarterback that can develop and be the best he can be, okay. But the problem is if you're drafting to be Patrick Mahomes, that's the issue. That's where I want to be a fly on the wall in that front office through the next few weeks. I want to know what they're going through, what their process is, what the back and forth is. I want to do that for all teams, honestly. But this one particularly, I want to know what they're scouting. Maybe they love Drake May instead, and that's where they're kind of like, can we find a way to double finagle this and just super? Maybe they love Jane Daniels. Who knows?
This is my problem with the draft. And I'll stand on business on this one like DK. This is, you don't keep trying to hope for a quality commodity to come out of nothing when you have something that is high quality already on your team. But and technically speaking, he hasn't been damaged yet. It's not damaged goods yet. Very close though, but it's not damaged goods yet. And because he won last year, that's the big reason why he was able to win games last year. So he didn't fall into that category of, oh crap, now he's damaged, now we got to get rid of him.
Down the stretch, he made the decision a lot harder than it was like those first 6 games. What he did down the stretch was like, now we have a choice.
Like, you got to recognize what he's done with what he has. And we talk a lot about, we did actually a whole series on this, I think 2 years ago, about the guys who have done the most with the least. We talk about Andrew Luck. We talk about some of Peyton Manning's years. We talk about some of Tom Brady there. We talk about some of the other guys in the NFL that have done it. Justin Fields, while he has not won to that caliber yet, has done a lot with a whole lot of jokes in that offense. And I'm not including Darnell Wright because that's probably the best tackle he has. But you have a guy you drafted 2 years ago who can't even stay healthy enough to get on the field. That's not doing you any good. Your left tackle, whatever happened with him last year, he was good at times, and then he would erupt and yell and scream at his teammates while getting escorted off the field. Yeah, there's so much dysfunction there. Don't waste what you have on a hope. At the end of the day, the NFL is too important to these front office guys. Like, your job is too important. You cannot miss. That is the big thing. The draft is your ultimate letdown. If you miss in the draft, you are fired. There's a whole movie about missing in the draft or winning in the draft. It's called Draft Day. It's all about Cleveland. If they ever had a dream draft, that would happen. But guess what? That's yet to happen. And how many front office people have we seen fired in the middle of the summer after a terrible draft, or the next year after a terrible draft? Happens all the time. GMs can guarantee a job for 10 plus years if they have a good draft. So stop trying to dream up something. Go with a known commodity. Go with what you have. Build around it. Don't waste this. I swear the Bears, if they waste this, they are just, it's another decade plus of misery. And every Bears fan probably cringes hearing that, but they probably think the same thing in the back of their head. If we don't do this right, we're not going to win. And to your point, I do think that if you're going to trade him, it's because you guys just had so much bad blood. But if they decide not to, you have 4 months to make things right. Do it. Do whatever it takes. Buy the man 6 Bentleys if you have to, but do what it takes to get this man in the right headspace, because he's shown he can win when he's in the right headspace with the team around him. Just make it happen. I mean, the Bears have all the ability to make it happen. They just keep second guessing themselves because of the Patrick Mahomes thing. What, 7 years ago?
Something like that. Yeah. I think I'll add on top of that too is What makes it even more confusing is all of the moves they've made so far don't give you an answer either way. You keep Matt Eberflus as head coach, basically putting it in a if you take a rookie, it's a lame duck situation. If the rookie struggles, you fire the coach and the GM, then you start all over again, just like you did with Justin and Mitch Trubisky, where they came in as lame ducks. But you still fired the entire offensive staff from pillar to post, which needed to be done. But at the same time, you basically neutered his staff and rehired everybody. And then you brought in Shane Waldron, good coach, worked with Geno Smith. So that shows like, hey, helped with there. Maybe they were going to do a reclamation project here. But they also tried to get Cliff Kingsbury, who we already know about that connect as a QB coach. We know the connection with Caleb Williams in college, that sort of thing too. So their moves are very interesting. The fact it shows to pointing Justin Fields, but also shows, well, hold on now. Like there's a lot of weirdness with the moves. It's not clear lock in the sand like most teams do, where they clean house or they bring everybody back. Like they split right down the middle, which doesn't look good either way. Like that's why I'm just like,
and the last thing about this, and I'm going to leave it alone after this. I just got to give props to Justin Fields and the way he's handled this. Justin Fields, obviously, there's been situations in the past, obviously the situation in Georgia, why he transferred away from Georgia to Ohio State, and how that was handled maybe wasn't the best from all parties. I think he learned. I think he's come up, and now you've seen it. He has said time and time again, no, I want to be a Chicago Bear. I want to be here. I want to win in Chicago with this team. And I don't think there could ever be a bigger vote of confidence for his teammates than having that guy tell you he wants to win in that team. It's eerily similar to Michael Vick with Atlanta when they were just not really that good. And he was like, no, I want to win with this team. And that's when they changed over jerseys, by the way, next year. But I don't see a Bears jersey switch and then all of a sudden they start winning. But hey, maybe history does repeat itself yet again.
I will say too, if they do decide to keep him, I want to know what they do with the pick. Do you keep number 1 and take Marvin Harrison Jr., arguably one of the best receiving prospects in a while, in my opinion, as of right now, before we've done our big boards or done our scouting, the number 1 prospect available, in my opinion? Or do you trade back and load up and fill out positions? Because you could use a receiver. Obviously, another receiver never hurts. You got free agency to do that as well, to fill it out with some good guys. You have a deep receiver class. I mean, you can get guys like Troy Franklin in round 2, Roman Wilson late round 2, round 3. Do you trade back and maybe try and get several picks? You don't have a second-round pick this year, if I'm not mistaken. Next year, you have Carolinas too, which is worth something if you want to throw that into a trade as well. So I'm curious to see what they do if that is the case. Do you want to try and build, for lack of better terms, the 49ers, where you just need someone to Brock Purdy it? Or do you try and build something that's a little do you want to build like the Bills with Josh Allen early on, where it's so offensively heavy that it just played to their strengths perfectly, then got some takeaways here and there? So that's what I'm curious as well. And looks like we do have a comment here really quick. Will pop up. How would you feel if Bears trade Justin Fields and they trade number 1 to New England for Marvin Harrison Jr. plus some extra picks, a 9th pick to get JJ from Michigan? Me personally, I'm not big on JJ. I know he's going to go early. I'm not seeing it as well. But if you can get the 3 and get a bunch of picks and get Marvin Harrison Jr., then maybe get, whether it's Bo Nix, Michael Penix, one of those other guys that you like, maybe even Jay Daniels slips a little bit for some reason. We've seen weird things happen. I don't hate that, because what you could reasonably do there, trade back to 3, get Marvin, and then with the Chargers, maybe you trade 9 and some of those extra picks to jump up to 5 and steal Jaden Daniels too. Maybe you pull some weird craziness like that. Or if Drake May slips to 5, because Jim Harbaugh's looking at like, I need picks because I have no salary cap. So he might be willing to move back. So you know what? I think this is what's fun about being the Bears. You have 2 top 10 picks. You could do some real goofiness. And I don't hate this idea as well, because you could trade Justin Fields and get, let's say, a second to Atlanta, just a hypothetical second and a 4 or something like that, or the Carson Wentz trade, a second, then a conditional second the next year. Use that to flip back up, get Jaden Daniels and Marvin Harrison Jr. Maybe get Marvin Harrison Jr. and Drake May, perhaps. Like, I don't – there's some fun that could be had there.
If you can pull off a top 5 out of that, like get a 3 and a 5 out of that, I mean, okay, yeah, sure.
That's different. That's option 3 we didn't talk about there.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that's selling the house there to make it happen. But I think this is the time. I don't like the idea of going to JJ. Let me just address that part of the comment. I don't like the idea with JJ, but I think the trade option there is actually a valid trade option. I do like the idea of moving back for Marvin, getting some extra picks out of that, because you'll get the second rounders you don't have. You'll at least get those, and probably a 5th or 6th rounder. And if you do it right, you get quality picks there. But as you said, Then you use that 9 pick. Maybe you drop that 9 pick down even further. Maybe you drop into the 15 to 18 range, and maybe you do go for a guy like Bo Nix. Maybe you do go for a guy who is falling down the draft boards, because outside of the top 10, if a quarterback hits 10, they're not going again until 15 or 16, very likely.
If not later.
Yeah, I mean, if not at the end of the tail end of the first round on guys who just want to get that fifth year option. So I don't like the idea of going for JJ, but I like the essence of what he's saying. I like the idea of trading down for the first pick, getting picks, and even the 9th pick. If you don't go anywhere, which I do think if you have the 9th pick, you do take an offensive lineman there for Chicago, or maybe you go defensive line, defensive help. Either option there. There's some great choices, but I would personally trade both down, so you get a 3 and a 15 range type of pick. See what you can do there. Yeah, because you're going to get a haul. You're going to get second, third rounders. You're going to be able to fill that in. At the end of the day, NFL is made up of second and third, fourth, fifth rounders. That is the NFL. There's a couple first-round guys, but of the majority of the 32 players usually drafted in the first round, about 16 of them are all that make it through. So you have 50%. Will your draft picks be the 50%? If you get 2, you're assuring yourself that hopefully one of them works out. But that's the problem. Number 1 pick too.
Exactly. So that is a good option. There's a lot that can be done here, and I wish I could just spy on their scouting department for these. I want to see what they're going through. I want to be able to see it all and see what they're going through, because
Spygate, but Chicago.
I mean, I won't release it. I just want to know. I just want to know.
Spygate, Navy Pier.
I mean, I'm not a coach. I can get away. It's not Spygate with me. So that exactly as well. So I'm very curious as well too. If you keep the number 1, that means drafting a QB. No lineman will be number 1, or Margie won't be number 1. That's where it gets tough, is what they expect to do as well. And
yeah,
I'm very curious. We're gonna see what they do, and they better trust their scouting department on this one. Whatever direction they go, hopefully they trust.
Do you trust your scouting department though, considering you just fired everybody else on the team? Does your coaching staff trust the scouting department because you just fired everybody else?
Then that'll be the question that we look at as well too. But we can go on about this all day long as well too. We have a lot of that coming up for us well too. But we do got to jump into Kelcey's favorite part of every show, and that is of course the main event. And you know what? For the main event, we're gonna go ahead and jump on over to the hardwood now. Is we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the NBA All-Star game, and this one just wrapped up. Highest scoring one of all time, record offensive points, but also a record bad defense. We finally cracked 200. It was like 200 to 180 or something like that. And I'm going to keep mine short and sweet. It's the festivities are more fun than the game for me personally. And I think a lot of people feel that way. Like the skills competition, the 3-point shootout, everything but the dunk contest really is fun in games. Like it's kind of enjoyable. Steph and Sabrina's 3-point shootout was awesome. The All-Star game, it's cool. I still had it on. I still watched a little bit, but it wasn't like, yeah, it's not, I wasn't locked into it, I guess. It was who can hook up the most ridiculous shots. Luka shot a 70-footer once with 30 seconds left in the quarter. He just grabbed it, took a dribble, and flipped it. Like no one's really. It's hard to get invested in when no one else is clearly invested. Everyone's mostly goofing around until fourth quarter when Cat gives you 50.
Yeah, I mean, when the moment I watched Luka and Jokic walk up the court by single touch passing it back and forth, I was over. I didn't care anymore. Like I was done. I just didn't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. If you guys watched the NHL All-Star game, you saw one of their players just not care during the skills competition. And they're required to be there, by the way, in the NHL. The NBA, not required, just there. You don't have to be there. It's actually kind of entertaining that way. And so, you think there'd be something they could do to fix it. But honestly, at this point in time, I mean, I watched so it was noise in the background while I was doing work in the foreground. I mean, I actively chose to do work on a Sunday night instead of just waiting to do it on Monday. I didn't need to do the work. I could have easily done it Monday. I was just like, no, I don't really care about this game. I'm going to do work.
Exactly. That's what also makes it weirder is there was rumors that like Larry Bird, Vince Carter, and a couple others went into the locker room and expressed the importance of you don't have to play all out. You don't have to go balls to the wall, playoff game, single elimination, game 7, but just like stick a hand up on defense. Like just try a little bit as well too. And didn't really see that much at all, which kind of begs the question: is there really any way to fix the All-Star game, or are we just kind of stuck with it at this point?
Yeah, how do you fix something when you already pay these guys astronomical amounts of money for a bench player? I mean, bench players are making $9 million. That's crazy to me. But yeah, I don't know if there's any good fix. Like the NHL, they started requiring players to go, and for the majority of them that go, that get chosen, they treat it like an honor in the NHL. The NFL, obviously, we know how that's gone. There's so many opt outs every year that you're just like, yeah, it's the opt out bowl. I mean, there's nothing. Tyler Huntley made it all Pro Bowl. Like that's all that needs to be said.
Everyone should make the last Pro Bowl. That's all that needs to be said.
Yeah, the MLB probably has the best.
Oh yeah,
of the games, and outside of at least in the Big Four, just because theirs means something. Like you win and you get home field advantage in the World Series. You can't do that really with the NBA, just because the way your series is made, it doesn't really provide any opportunity. Like I don't it's not the same effect for home court advantage in the finals as it used to be. So I don't know if there's any really good fix here. I mean, you know what would be a wild fix is, the team that wins West or East. That's the side of the NBA that gets the first pick overall. So when you do the lotto, you do a lotto, and then you subcategorize the lottery. So your first 5 picks all come from the East because they won the All-Star game.
Exactly. And I'll go ahead and jump in on this comment I have too. The East and West is fine. I did the fantasy draft for a couple of years. Like I respect the effort, but like that's only fun when we do that on Madden. Like we don't need the fantasy draft for the real life All-Star. Like the East versus West is fine as it isn't. What's weird too is if they do try and do home field, or home court, excuse me, that means like this Jason Tatum, Giannis, those guys, they're going to be their fate of them having home court during the NBA finals could be dependent on like Jalen Brunson or maybe like someone or if they have an all-star who's from not in the playoff race necessarily, someone who's like a Trae Young or something like that as well. Like a lot of your future hopes are on somebody that's not going to be there as well. So that makes it kind of 6 and 1 and half a dozen the other. The only thing that I saw that might work, which really wouldn't, is the losing team, their DMs get released. That's the only way I can think of doing it at this point. Is like losing team, you get your D. Then at that point, then it's all in at that point. Then people are going all out. But
put a GPS watch on them for 6 weeks.
Oh boy,
for the rest of the season, you have a GPS watch on you, and it's connected directly to your significant other or parents' cell phone.
Speaking of Spygate, huh? Like we come full circle.
At this point in time, like I hate to say it, but the NBA guys, there's not a lot of incentivizing these guys anymore because they make so much money, and the rest period is its own thing. That's its own conversation. The rest games. Like you tried it with I think the perfect example is to be qualified for the MVP. You have to play X amount of games. I believe it's 60 games.
Yeah, I think it's 70% of the season, I believe.
Yeah. So you have to play X amount of games. Dudes don't care. Kawhi, PG, they're like, dude, I don't care. My knees are more important to me. LeBron, I've won my MVPs. I don't need it anymore. He'll still play 70%.
But Joel tries and he hurts himself for the whole season. And then you get – it's the same thing with the All-Star game. If you try during the All-Star game and you get hurt, everyone's going to poop on you for that. You can't win either way. So I don't know what you do. I wish there was a way to get 60% effort as opposed to 10, 40%.
You know what? One-on-one versus Kelcey Plum versus one dude from the NBA. If the WNBA wins, they get all the funding that the NBA gets. Game over. I bet you guaranteed the NBA would try that.
That's it. Maybe the winning team gets paid and the losing team has to pay. I don't know. Like there's really no way to fix it. It's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. It's an all-star game. Like it's just
you lose your shoe sponsorship as soon as if your team loses.
Ooh, Steph's gonna be dropping 50 real quickly. So that
LeBron will be on the same team real fast in a hurry.
And Kevin Durant too. Like those three are like, nah, this ain't gonna happen.
Giannis. Yeah, Giannis probably does it. Giannis probably actually would try. Still.
He does kind of he's still it's tough. There's no real way to answer it or fix it. It would just be nice to get a little bit more. But at the same time, like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to stand on my high horse and be like, you must try. You must go all. No, it's like it's for the sake of a selfish fan viewership. I'm like, just a little bit more. Just try to block his shot. Kobe and LeBron from like 6 years ago. Just give me a little of that.
I kind of feel like they need to do what the NFL does and just put it at the end of the season after the finals. But do it like a location. Do it like. They're making such a case for the NBA Africa League. Screw it. Play it in Uganda. Play it in South Africa. Play it in Ivory Coast. Choose a country. Play it in Egypt. go play it in Nova Scotia on an ice, like do something fun. And I imagine players will be more likely to enjoy it and try. Because right now,
Cancun off 3, play the All-Star game in Cancun.
Yeah, like, give them banana boat for the winners. Like, I guarantee you'll see all of a sudden LeBron trying real hard.
He might look 25 again if you pull that out. Now that's a whole different case. But let us know down below if you guys think there's any way that the All-Star game can really get fixed to maybe inspire a touch more competitiveness or just be a little bit less. Yeah, a little bit less layup lines and playing games of horse with the 3-point line. Basically, it's some of Dame's shots are ridiculous. Some of the dunks Cat was pulling off. It has its moments, but it's just like, I don't know. It's a little bit of the intrigue is just not quite the same.
That was the other part. The 3-point shots were fun when it was like one dude going against the other dude, right? When it was Steph and Dame a couple years back, or I guess it wasn't Steph, it was Dame and somebody else from the East. I think it was Steph versus Dame a few years back.
Maybe I think it might have been during one of the fantasy draft years.
Yeah, and it was fun to see that. Or when it was LeBron versus Kobe, that was an incredible matchup. It's
Kobe actually blocked his shot too. Yeah, like he was locked in.
But like, you don't get that now. There's a whole conversation about where the NBA is going to, but you just don't get that anymore, and that's the disappointing part.
It's and there's no incentive too, so I can't even really. There's no one really to blame. It's just an damn. That's the only way there is about it.
Really, you guys did a great job. You started paying your players more. You started giving them more benefits, and guess what? The players are like, all right, we're happy to keep playing our regular NBA games, but we're not going to care about this exhibition game.
Who knows? That's their job to figure out, not ours.
Every union in the world just says that's what we want to do.
Yeah, oh boy, here we go. But honestly, either way, let it be. At this point, it feels like just being named an All-Star is the cool part of the game itself. It's not the Pro Bowl, but it's definitely not MLB's All-Star game. That one still, I think,
just don't make the All-Stars part of anybody's contract anymore.
That could work. That could be something as well too, or make it like the initial vote in, not like I don't know. That's their job to figure out. I'd either here nor there. Let us know down below if you all even like the All-Star game, if you think there's some changes or what you think could be done to make it a more interesting viewing experience as well, to maybe bring in a few more dollars to the NBA too. Because they want to try and maximize that as well. But that's going to do it here for the main event, which is going to now take us into Kelcey's favorite part of every show. That is Crunch Time. Crunch Time, of course, brought to you by Outlier. Go to outlier.bet /HighLowSports. Get yourself a free 7-day trial to start betting smarter, not harder. See if you can win yourself a few dollars here with all you need from trends, money lines, and everything in between. And it's that time of year, Kelcey. It's arguably our favorite time of year. It is NFL draft season, for better and for worse, and it officially kicks off for us on Monday with the NFL Combine getting going as well. Mock Draft Mondays will be returning here on the YouTube channel every Monday. We'll be doing a mock draft just based on what we heard throughout the week, what the rumors are, just tinkering around. Some will be what we think will happen. Some will be what we want to happen. Some of them will be, how funny would this be?
Yeah, I can't wait. This is my low-key. It started. Okay, so the history of our show, it started that this was a time off in our first year. We took this time frame off, and we hated it because we wanted to talk about it every day, but we could never get our schedule right. For the last 2 years, we've made sure that we are on top of this, doing everything we can for the draft, including visiting Cleveland for the draft in 2020. I guess it's been 3 years now we've done this. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. And this being our third year here, it's going to be a lot of fun again. We've got a lot of coverage. Mock Draft Mondays being part of it. We're going to change our Tier Tuesdays over to a little bit of a draft special for the Tier Tuesdays going forward. And that'll be fun as well. I mean, I love draft season. I love mock drafts. I mean, I feel like we played enough Madden in our day to kind of prepare us for this moment, doing our fantasy leagues, if you will. This is a lot of fun. I can't wait.
Absolutely. Definitely looking forward to those. So definitely check our YouTube channel every Mondays for those, starting, of course, on Monday as well, too, going through the Combine and all the way moving forward up until draft day and our final mock draft the day before the actual draft itself, which will be on a Wednesday on our live show. So you'll definitely want to check out that. But that's all we have for today. We appreciate you all for joining us here on this Wednesday evening, or if you're listening on one of your favorite places to catch podcasts. We'll be sure to see you all again next week.